Hi everyone! Logan has received an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. It's a major accolade for a film in the superhero genre, and we have the exact reasons why this script will win in the writing category. We'll get to those reasons in a second, but first, welcome to New Rockstars News, our deep dive into all the biggest stories this week. So we're also going to discuss the new footage from Black Panther and the details it gave us about the new weaponry and technology of this movie, as well as our first look at Captain Marvel's costume and why it's green. And more. Oh my God. I'm Erik, Voss, and joining me in my superhero script book club this week are...
Hello, it's your old pal Sam Bashor.
Philip, Molina, I had my wisdom teeth out last week.
It's all right.
Yeah, and we'll talk later about it.
Mine's a little... Maude Garrett. Maude Garrett.
Well, guys, everyone, welcome to this show. Let's get started with our top story. Logan's amazing script. This week, the 2018 Academy Award nominations were announced, and among the 5 nominees for Best Adapted Screenplay was Logan. Yay! Written, of course, by Scott Frank, James Mangold, who directed the movie, and Michael Green. Now, the other nominees in the category are Call Me By Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Molly's Game, and Mudbound. The superhero genre has historically been snubbed by the Oscars, usually only scoring nominations for like technical awards and visual effects, things like that.
Suicide Squad got an award.
Suicide Squad is one of the few superhero movies with an Oscar win for, what was it, makeup, hairstyling?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, The Dark Knight actually was somewhat of an exception to this trend, winning for Best Supporting Actor for Heath Ledger and sound editing, and it scored a bunch of other nominations as well. Many of us argue that it should have also been nominated for its screenplay, Best Picture, and Best Director as well, I would say. Yeah. In fact, many people believe that's why they expanded the Best Picture nominees to up to 10 movies, so that they can include other movies.
The next Dark Knight that comes along.
Right. Yeah.
That's why there's
Which
been
is
about 45 movies since.
Yeah.
To try and get that next Dark Knight moment.
Now, after reading the screenplay for Logan and after reading a lot of screenplays, it's easy to see why Academy voters considered it one of the best scripts of the year. There are 3 specific excerpts that we're going to single out and analyze that show how well written Logan is and how it's unique among Hollywood screenplays these days. So let's dive in. Yeah. First, on page 2 of the script, writer Scott Frank stepped away from the scene and inserted a 4-paragraph note about how he wanted fights to be depicted in the movie. He described how, unlike in past superhero movies, the violence of Logan would be more grounded, with Logan and other characters actually bleeding and dying when they get hurt. He wrote, quote, "If you're on the make for a hyper-choreographed, gravity-defying, city-block-destroying CGI F-a-thon, this ain't your movie."
That is the best sentence ever.
CGI Epathon?
Yeah.
Now, we've talked actually about this excerpt before on this show, but what I love about this is even though this is just a reader's note that doesn't actually show up in the movie that you see on the screen, it does so much to establish what kind of story Logan will be, and any director who would like pick up this script could just read this note and take it to heart and then know exactly how to shoot this movie. Even though James Mangold was like the perfect director for this story, you could give it to the hands of anybody with as good of an excerpt as this.
But not anyone without Hands of Mangold. Stop doing that, Maude.
You can leave a comment for yourself later.
I just think, guys, it's such a ballsy but also totally necessary move that sets up how Logan will deconstruct the entire superhero genre, which is why critics have been raving for it so much.
Stop doing that. You just did it again. You keep calling it a superhero genre. But what Logan defined was that there is no superhero genre. Superhero is just the type of movie, and then you can insert said genre into it.
Yeah, essentially, like you don't call them cowboy movies, right? The whole Western genre is much larger than cowboys, which Logan kind of proves. But I think that's a little bit of your point too, right? That like previously people did think there was a superhero genre.
I was one of them.
And then this excerpt actually is not only kind of saying like, hey, this movie's going to be a little different. It's actually saying, hey, when you read this, reader, the movie that plays in your head, don't do superhero genre on it. Do, oh my God, this is really happening and people are really getting hurt. And if anything, do Western, which was definitely what it ended up being like. But I think that's probably why this is so powerful. Right from page 1, essentially, it redefined the genre of the movie on paper, which that's what you mean, I think, with like any director on paper immediately is like, well, I can't make the previous versions of what the Wolverine franchise had done. This is a whole new thing.
Literally, the movie right before this, directed by the same exact man, it became a CGI F-a-thon near the end. It became a totally different movie, and it was really disappointing because what he had set up was extremely interesting for a solo X-Men movie because it really needed a change. And then this Logan was finally, he was able to do exactly what he wanted to. So I'm glad that it got nominated, and this is a very good example of why.
Yeah, that variable is the thing that changed. Right? The director, same director.
Yeah, I think a lot of times with movies, for people who aren't like on the inside of the film industry, directors, lead actors will get like the credit for a movie's success or failure, but really the whole movie's existence starts with the screenwriter. And these categories, I think the movie that is the best written movie of the year, in my opinion, is the best movie of the year, because that's the most well-told story with the most clearly defined vision of the story. Like, I don't think you can have a subpar script, or a script that's like the second or third or fourth best of the year that is not also the best movie of the year. It always like boggles me that some other like factors kind of come in. That's like, oh, it was well directed, but it was like okay script. Like to me, it's all part of the same direction of the movie, is how well it's written. And we also, when you read this, you're reminded how like, even though a screenplay is really just a blueprint for a movie, you're being told a story. You're being built a world before your eyes. And like you read so many screenplays, and sometimes screenwriters will try to be like artful and like, no, I'm gonna like show, not tell. But sometimes like you really just need to tell your reader and your creative team exactly what kind of story you want to tell.
Show, not tell is very much a note that's given to beginning writers, because they tend to overtell. But and then you end up with just like, well, you explained every single detail here and you didn't show anything. Really, the best screenplays show and tell very well, so that show is great for subtlety. Tell is necessary for clarity, and clarity is one of the things that people think is on-the-nose writing. And on-the-nose writing is actually just, are we on the same page here? And that's so important on the screenplay level. There's nothing more on-the-nose or literal than this this passage here. No, I think tell is just as important when done skillfully.
Well, I'm interested to know how often the screenwriter has a particular vision, and then the director comes in and goes, yeah, I see what you're doing, but pivot, you know? So having the director be also the screenwriter and can see that vision all the way through is a really big thing. But you're right, having that, whatever you think, because it has been happening for the last 10 years, unthink it. Because even though this is a superhero movie, it's not a superhero movie. Yeah. This
is just a character, you know, but like look at him in a more grounded light. And I think that's what it is. He has to acknowledge, because Wolverine has been depicted on screen so many times, I think he really has to take that step to show this will be a different kind of Wolverine movie.
Do you guys have a clearer definition, at least for me, and I think some people in the audience would maybe like this too, of when it comes to screenplay adaptation? Is that talking about taking Old Man Logan, the comic, and adapting it? Or does that mean taking a script and nailing it so well that it's like, no, you deserve an award for this? Is it talking about Old Man Logan?
Well, I think you could probably look into the nomination. I think if it's nominated in the adapted category as opposed to the original category, because we've seen the character Wolverine on screen before. It's considered a sequel, part of a franchise. So any movie that is, even if, like, if you consider Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight to be kind of an original take on it, maybe not even adapted from any one particular storyline, it would consider adapted screenplay, because those characters in that world did pre-exist somewhere by another creator.
Yeah, there's no, it's not a quality difference. So one's not better or whatever.
Right.
Like, it's not bad for a screenplay to be adapted.
No, I didn't think it was. I just wanted a clear definition of what that meant.
I think it's just a different process. If you're taking, instead of like world building from square one, from a blank canvas, it's a slightly different creative process. Well, I would say majorly different creative process than like taking pieces out of the people creating, like, how can I best arrange these pieces into a great thrilling story?
Right, different skill.
Well, let's move on to our second excerpt that really stands out. It comes from the most heartbreaking twist from the movie, when Charles and the Munson family are attacked by X-24, Logan's clone. Specifically, there's a moment Logan returns to the farmhouse to find the carnage, realizing that his whole existence has resulted in this darkest possible fate for Charles and this family of kind strangers that took care of them. The scene before this actually features Charles's emotional confession of accidentally killing the other mutants and back in Westchester, and he's thinking he's talking to Logan, but actually he's talking to X-24, and that look of shock on Charles' face as Logan stabs him. It almost seems like Charles thinks it's actually the real Logan, and in the script it makes it seem like this is really Logan until they reveal in the last second it's a clone. The writing uses this mistaken identity of X-24 to heighten the feeling of guilt Logan feels in this moment, and then you see his point of view as he walks into the house to see exactly what his decisions have led to.
I'm getting emotional. You retelling that story, because I forgot about that line. He says, "It's like, it wasn't me," or "I didn't do it." It's just like, oh, it doesn't matter, because you've still messed up so many times in your life. It's like, it doesn't matter at this point. It's moot.
Yeah, I think that this moment actually, to me, even though I think that opening scene is amazing to the reader, I think this is actually the nomination right here. To me, the performance that Hugh Jackman does is actually unparalleled, and I think Hugh Jackman is a huge part of why this movie worked, but only because he was given this opportunity to do this, because Hugh Jackman has played Wolverine 71 times. But this time he was finally able to achieve what some writers refer to as his Heart of Darkness moment, which in screenwriting, a character, you write a character and you fall in love with the character, and you're like, man, that'd be really fun to see Wolverine get to do this or your character do this. But the real moment that we actually want to see, but it hurts us as writers, is the worst nightmare of this character. What's the absolute worst thing that can happen? And a lot of people think that's normally death. And obviously, in a lot of superhero movies, the concern is the character going to die? But what's way better for a character and character building is what for that person is a fate worse than death. And this scene is exactly that moment, because Wolverine or Logan, his whole life has thought, I'm a monster. I'm deep down, I'm actually very bad, and I'm not worthy of this life. And if anything, he actually thinks death would be a great escape for him. But this instead gives him, okay, what is your darkest, personalized to Logan? What's your worst case scenario? That the one person that is still alive that thinks, no, you are a good person, opens his eyes and sees that you are a monster and you have killed him. And that's the moment that is rushing through his head when he sees that Charles has been stabbed. He's like, oh no, he thinks it's me. And not only is that so bad for me and it hurts me so much, but this is also the one person in this universe that has said this about mutants in general, right? And he's like, no, I know overall, if I know one thing, mutants are good because Wolverine, even though everyone thought he was bad, he's good. And it's like the Martin Luther King Jr. guy right there. And you have suddenly made him think, was I wrong about every mutant
The poster
ever?
child for mutant redemption is now proving me wrong.
And so that choice to give him this, I mean, that's a screenplay level choice. And that, I'm like, that's perfect. That's the thing Logan has always needed to face.
Yeah.
And also, since everyone kind of saw a twist coming at some point, like in this scene, you're just like, I didn't realize how bad it was going to be. You're like, I don't know what this, I just remember weeping really hard in my seat during this part. And I saw this movie, we don't have to get into this, but I saw it with my dad, and my dad's a big fan of Westerns, and his dad, my grandfather, passed away a year before, and they loved Westerns. So when they, what was the movie they kept bringing up? The speech that
Shane.
That was one of their favorite movies to watch. So it was just like this really, it was a complicated movie to watch in the theaters.
Yeah.
Please win. It's such a good movie.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the final excerpt that I want to single out.
Sad episode of
this is a very tragic. Now it's on the second to last page. It depicts Logan's death scene, but it's amazing how he puts this most climactic moment right at the end of the movie. It doesn't drag out the end of the movie. It's like you're about to turn on the last page, and that's where the most critical thing happens. Anyway, so Hugh Jackman's human acting ability was amazing in this moment. He's definitely worthy of an Oscar itself. It's a shame he didn't get nominated. But reading this script, it's amazing to see how so much of this heartbreak is actually in the words. So for one, Laura calling Logan daddy at the time, it felt so authentic to me that I assumed it was improvised by the actress. But no, this is actually in the script. The father-daughter connection was always intended to be between these characters. It was just never called out until this final moment. And then Logan's final words, so this is what it feels like, they're preceded by this haunting piece of exposition that I love. In his eyes, there is a flicker of wonder. And you can see how Jackman brings this faint look of wonder to life. The wonder refers to the sudden sensation Logan feels of mortality. He's mystified by this rush of true vulnerability, something he's never felt before, but he's been longing for, and it's finally delivered. And just with those few words, you can see such his whole life passing before his eyes, and kind of this sense of release and relief. I love it. It's all there on the page.
Hit me real hard just then. I need a second.
Oh, you're genuinely tearing up.
Yeah, it was such a moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful.
I remember it was a minute or two after this when she pulls and makes the X, and that's when I lost it for some stupid reason.
How many
like
times
that
did you cry during this movie?
It's a great scene, but also
He
just
started screaming at that point. He'd previously already been crying, but at that point,
like this whole scene, I'm like, oh, it's really getting to me. Her speech is getting me, and then and I'm like, you're getting me hard.
Yeah.
Whoa, context, Sam
context,
Basher.
not like that. You're getting me really. Shush. Jesus.
The complete wrong takeaway from this moment.
Ruin this moment. As usual.
We at New Rockstars do not abide by the comments
do
of one Mr. Samuel
reflect the-
Bashor. Oh my
not
God,
have
his last name is gross too. Wow.
Well,
Way
I just think this is
Make
an
us
example of
uncomfortable.
like most of the time when you, like, as I said, screenplays are blueprints. They're not meant to be like books that you read and they have their own kind of literary value. In this case, this is a literary piece of work.
Yes.
And rereading it, you discover new insights that you weren't there before. You can actually read the screenplay, and it's a fascinating read. I didn't think I would be able to read the whole thing in one sitting. I just kept turning. It was
Wow.
like a page turner of a script, and it's so rare to find that.
Do you think that a lot of this was the pressure to make the perfect ending of such a long-standing series?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
they
I
really
think
had to
that
go
was-
out with everything.
There was, I think this was a long
Had to go
time
out
coming, and I
hard.
think Hugh Jackman was a big part of. I think he was working with James Mangold. He was a producer on the film. I'm sure he had several approvals on the script. I don't think he would have done this movie if it was not a true send off and emotional send off, not just to the character as he is in the text or in the source material, but as we've gotten to know him on screen for however many years, 41 years,
Yeah.
71 movies.
Oh my gosh, when you said that, when you said that he's been played this 71 times, oh man, it's worth going back to do it. For like a third of a second, I was like, is that right? And
It's-
I was
it's
like,
true.
wait a
Yeah.
second. But
Yeah.
everything else
You have to count all the Christmas specials, the TV appearances, the
I did
animated
believe you for
Logan
just a
series.
bit.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of videos on Logan on this channel. You should go check out our breakdowns of the film when it came out. We also did one about how it should win an Oscar back, so maybe they can thank us for its Oscar nomination. Probably not. We had very little
We'll
to
be
do with it.
thanked.
We'll be
Hollywood
thanked in the
Reporter.
speech.
Yeah.
Please thank us in the speech.
Logan won
But
only because of you,
specifically, we
Rockstars.
compare it to another Western movie called Unforgiven, which did a lot to deconstruct the Western genre and point out how that wasn't a specific genre, that it's more of like a tone of a movie. And that won a ton of Oscars as well back in the 90s. But let us know your thoughts about this. And yeah, definitely read that screenplay. Even if you aren't a film geek, it's definitely a page turn. It's a
and how many
thrilling
times
experience.
did you cry when watching Logan? Can you beat Sam's 72?
Yeah. But let us move on to this week's trivia question.
Yay.
And you know what? We're going to keep things Logan themed
Sad?
because we
Oh.
have more tears to cry.
Yeah.
So it's you want to pass those out?
yeah.
I'm a dum-dum. Okay, here we go.
Yay.
So in Logan, what was the fictional brand name of the popular energy drink that we later learned was laced with anti-mutant corn syrup that was poisoned by Dr. Xander Rice's company? So we're looking for the brand name. It was fictional, so not a real one.
Yeah.
This is.
While we write down our answers, just to stay on the theme where we were just coming from, the idea of like redefining genres, that's not necessarily like always a good thing, but it definitely there's like always a year. It's like always like 20 years into a genre where you just need that thing
Pivot.
to be reinvented. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the heist movie. After a while, started to become like a very stylized thing, and then Ocean's 11 or whatever. And then I thought this was Sam's with the kiss on it. And then
His has just got the hearts all over it instead, really.
Hearts?
always got a son now.
But the most recent heist film that I loved was Hell or High Water.
Oh yeah.
And
That
it's
was
like
amazing.
you see how it's like compare that to Ocean's 11, which previously had been like the style of heist film, and then Hell or High Water instead was like, let's also try kind of the Western direction.
Yeah.
But just that sometimes there's just the right moment to
Right.
pivot.
Yeah, Heist can be. Logan Lucky came out earlier this year. It was another. It was like
Did
the
anyone
same
watch
director as
that?
Ocean's 11. I watched it. It's a redneck Ocean's 11. It's fantastic. It's so funny, so well structured,
Yeah,
well
except
written.
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver. Yeah, if you can get past. I mean, I'm a big fan, but if you're not, you have to
like
get past
his
it. He
nipples.
talks in a very weird accent in the movie that a lot of characters are talking in weird accents in that movie, but I kind of loved it. I loved it. Okay, well, later in the show, we'll reveal the answer to this trivia question. The closest answer, as decided by our judges, we'll get to do our goodbyes, whereas the loser will have to do our in other news headlines and be funny on the spot. It's going to be super stressful for him. But we're going to move on because it's the new Rockstars news, and we cover all the important stories from the week. Okay, everyone, new footage of the upcoming Black Panther film gave us an extended look at the foot chase scene set in South Korea. Now, this scene gives us some new details showing the amazing technology of Wakanda and some interesting features of Black Panther's suit. So I thought, let's zoom and enhance on this footage, shall we? Yeah, the scene begins with Shuri providing T'Challa's support by activating a car remotely with a scanner on the hood, mapping the car's structure as a holo display in her lab back in Wakanda. And if you look closely, she already has the car seat, steering wheel, pedal all laid out. The rest of the car just kind of projects around her.
So cool.
Yeah,
so that's not a real. So I just because I only skimmed through the scene because I'm trying to be careful. I want to lie as many surprises when I sit down in this theater. It's possible. That's not what the car looks like on the inside because I was like, oh, Wakanda's got their own cars and they look like this on the inside.
Only the steering wheel. Everything else is mapped projection around her.
A hologram, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think you were sitting in, like
I
a
thought that car was made out
hypercolored?
of crystals
frame.
or something.
Yeah, hypercolored. Well, if that was like made out of gel, that'd be cool. That would impact crashes. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm getting us in
Yeah.
a Sam mode. Got
I
it.
think what's interesting, if you look closely, in addition to the car as Shuri drives, you could see the city street, the South Korean city street passing by her outside, also as a hologram, kind of like the X-Men Danger Room type thing. How the hell is this possible, right? If you think about this, how would you be able to also show a realistic display?
Real quick, I think it's important for people that haven't watched this scene to clarify exactly how this is playing out. She is in her lab. She is not on the road right now. But it looks very much like she's on the road. So we did a Photoshop mock-up of like, here's what you would expect to see. She's in a hologram and the lab is behind her. But instead, what you're pointing out is that suddenly she's transported in a visual way, at least, as if she's on that road in the city.
Yeah, as if there's like that live green screen technology that they use for Saturday Night Live sketches to make it look like they're driving, but it's just a green screen. Actually, you see earlier in the clip, there's a hood scanner that's on the hood of the car that is collecting all this data and mapping it. But I think what it's saying is that this technology is so elaborate, it maps the surrounding surfaces that this place is within as well. Maybe kind of taking a 3D photograph of the street, like Google Street View, I think is a good analogy for it. And then it digitally reinserts this hologram car from Shuri's point of view in that recreated 3D environment. That's crazy.
A
and
camera
awesome.
seems just as easy, huh?
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, but you can't, make it that cool, cute little magnet.
You can't have your gel car.
Yeah.
You can't have your jellies car.
It's not gel.
It's jellies.
Pretty sure it's gel.
It's
Let
like
it be
the
gel.
shoes.
We just want it to be gel.
Yeah, it's just, I think we're going to see, this is just the tip of the iceberg of the elaborate technology that Wakanda has. Maybe not everyone, this is Shuri, she is like the Tony Stark of this world.
Cute.
And she has special access to things and she's like super brilliant. But I'm super excited to see what other kinds of hologram projection we see in this movie.
We all saw her kill someone in Black Mirror. So
That's right, Letitia Wright.
Spoilers.
Yeah, she's there. Okay, well, next, we also see how Black Panther's vibranium suit is stored inside of his necklace. It extends outward from that necklace across his body, similar to Tony Stark's repulsor crawling out from his wristwatch in Civil War. So some interesting parallels that it would be fun to see these characters work together in the future. But later, as enemies shoot at T'Challa and the bullets ricochet off his vibranium, Shuri explains how each impact is causing kinetic energy to build up, creating this purple glow inside of his suit, which she releases in the form of this awesome shockwave.
That is so cool.
Yeah, super powerful feature for his suit to be able to convert a defensive advantage, his bulletproof armor, into an offensive weapon.
I always thought that was one of the coolest superpowers. There's
I was about to say that, too, yeah.
Speedball. Do you know Speedball from Marvel?
Speedball is the famous, he does bad stuff.
He does bad stuff.
he's a villain.
He's a not by accident.
Yeah.
Mainly by accident. But his whole
kills
thing
everybody.
is, he takes in kinetic energy, and he can expel it out. And I always thought that was so cool. It's like, so no matter what, if you get hurt and get punched, it's just like, this is just going to come back and hurt you.
Yeah.
Even if you try to shoot me, I can just absorb all that energy and throw it right back at you. I think that's a really awesome power. I'm glad that at least if they can't get Speedball, there's too many characters to play around with the MCU. It'll take a while to get to him.
Well, and there's a bunch of characters that
They
can do
that.
a version of that. So, yeah.
And then
things that-
applying it to Black Panther, that's really cool to make him a little bit more unique instead of just claws and punching. Give him something else.
He needs a little bit more than.
But, I mean, not that random doesn't work.
Yeah.
It works
Oh, it's
pretty
very
well.
effective.
Yeah.
But I feel like we have a couple. It's with a hammer.
Yeah,
or
you got
something.
Rare Man, Girl.
Does it sometimes? Yeah.
Yeah, this must be part of his new suit, right? Because we would have seen this used in Civil War. There's so many opportunities for him to use it, and he didn't. So I think, in the trailer footage, it looks like Shuri is showing him a new suit, and it looks like that's kind of the big selling point on it.
So, Erik, how much kinetic energy is contained in a fired bullet?
It's probably measured in joules. I don't know. 30 joules.
Kapow.
Someone correct me on that.
So let us know exactly.
Well, actually,
what that
that's a
energy
trick
transfer
question.
is.
If it's stored, it's potential energy, right? Yeah.
not
Trick
while
question?
it's moving.
While it's moving, yeah, when the impact. But once it gets stored inside the city, it was interesting that she said kinetic energy. I'm sure there might have been some physicists who were like, if it's stored at that point, the bullets were done firing, but when it's used again, it gets transferred into
In the moment that it
kinetic energy.
touches his suit.
Yeah, it is at that moment kinetic energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a
Kinetic.
We're gonna get so corrected.
Like I know. It's like a battery.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is just dropping his mic in our comments right now.
But we invite it. We do want to know. I legitimately do want to know, like, how much power is he hitting these people back with if it's say 10 bullets.
Yeah, and comparing that to like a grenade that goes off, it's a force
Getting
of a
hit by
grenade.
a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Velocity.
the force of a moving
Acceleration,
vehicle.
mass,
Yeah.
force,
Distance.
Velocity.
No force,
RT.
philosophy.
Yeah. Einstein.
Gelosity.
Well, let us
jelly.
know what you guys think about these features. Physicists, yell at us.
We're letting you down in the
Jello
comments.
City.
And I want to know from you guys, do you think Black Panther's suit has the potential to be even more powerful than what we've seen from Iron Man? I don't know. I don't see. Iron Man might want to, copy some of the notes from her playbook there. But comment down below and tweet us with your thoughts. And as a reminder, subscribe to New Rockstars for all of our deep dives into Black Panther and everything you love. Thanks, guys. But this is the New Rockstars news, so let's move on to another story you guys need to know about. Okay, everyone. Captain Marvel this week has released some new set photos of Brie Larson in costume as Carol Danvers, and despite the familiar red and blue with a gold star costume Captain Marvel is known for from the comics, this costume has a green color tone. What? After Labor Day? What? Oh my gosh. Now, it could be that this version of the costume is meant to look like the original Captain Marvel, as a Kree warrior who will be played by Jude Law in the movie, whose Kree military uniform was green colored. In the comics, Marvel's alter ego, Dr. Walter Lawson, meets Carol Danvers, eventually passes on the mantle of Captain Marvel to her. The history of this character is very long and very interesting, a little complicated.
And also, you're saying the comic book or origin, they specifically said they're going to change it for her so that she becomes like not attached to another male character and become her own character.
They're going to expedite and condense it. So maybe what we're seeing here is Danvers in this green colored costume as a throwback to that Kree military uniform look the original Captain Marvel wore. And maybe this is just like her first look in the movie before she like changes into her classic look by the end of the movie, kind of the way like Tony Stark in the first Iron Man had that weird, goofy, clunky suit, and then eventually got the more refined classic look.
Marvel does a really good job with that because it's fun to throw like a nod to the history of the character. You got the Mark I. It was cool because I've been rewatching the Marvel movies for the series we do on this channel. But rewatching that, it's kind of a fun nod because it's like we're paying some respects. I had another point in there, totally forgot what it was. And I know other characters have done that too. Like you got the wings for Captain America when he was doing the propaganda stuff in the first Avengers movie, which is really fun. You got the Gray Hulk in multiple versions of the Hulk, depending on how they decide to change what his face looks like.
Edward Norton holding up the purple pants.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just these nods to the different origin.
And I feel like you're gonna get the helmet too, because he usually has like this like skin tight helmet with a little mohawk right there. You're probably gonna get that.
What was the Iron Fist one where he like goes through someone's laundry and he still has that head?
It's surprisingly
thing.
sexy.
It's like, what is this?
Thing.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that this is a nod to the original suit and not like this is Jude Law's costume and then she happens to fit in it perfectly and next week so then they have the same dimensions.
Yeah.
What if it's camo when she's in the forest?
No, that's true. Oh, it can change.
I feel like you would
That'd be cool.
stand out like a sore thumb with that.
You would.
I'm not so fast on the color of it and like the whys. I want to talk about the quality of this costume because it's real bad. That is not her real hair, is it? That has got to be a wig.
No way, that's her real hair.
No.
It's like
we're talking about the cartoon, right?
That's gotta be a wig.
It all looks fake to me. Yeah.
And the costume in itself it looks like she's rocking up to Comic-Con.
Well, here's a good way to point out what Maud's talking about. Note the elbow. It like doesn't bend well with her
It looks like it's 2 inches too long for her, the suit as well, because it bunches all the way down the legs as well.
Oh, that is kind of interesting if she repurposed his suit and doesn't fit so well. I think though we're definitely agreed that this is a proto suit, an early stage, and she will eventually rock the other one. I think I like your idea. I also think it could be a potential nod to her origin. It could be like a flight suit.
Oh,
very
sure,
similar to
yeah.
that, like kind of like Tom Cruise in Top Gun.
Guys, there's junk room. We didn't look properly, but look where you're not supposed to. There's junk room.
Oh wow, yeah. There's room.
Well, we don't know how Kree biology works.
Right,
exactly,
they could have
so.
different
You've seen
parts.
every single other female-tailored costume ever. Has there ever been that much room there ever before?
Where does she keep
Good
the gun?
find, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Where do you keep yours? Junk room.
Don't you dare win again.
Junk room. Junk drawer.
Yeah. In the kitchen.
But this did not make me excited about the movie. And I want to ask you guys, did this make you more or less inclined to watch it, be excited for it? Were you like,
They got my
"Ooh, here
money
we go."
already.
I know. I'm like, I love every movie that they make.
This
I
one-
talk about it on a podcast, so I'll go see it anyways. I'll go see Suicide Squad 2 as well.
Remember,
I think every pre-trailer set photo that I've ever seen for any movie made me be like, what? That's lame. Like, wasn't the one that always sticks out to me is there's Doctor Strange, where it's like them running down like a street and they do that
I
goofy
liked
jump and then
that.
just like land after like 6 inches of.
And
Remember
the-
Shocker for Spider-Man Homecoming? The
Oh, yeah.
Shocker had the
Or like a
full
vest.
costume, and it was
a shocking.
rough. And
Yeah.
I get why it was cut from the movie.
Yeah. Or when Benedict Cumberbatch played Smaug. And there's that
Oh, yeah.
CGI. It's like, he's wearing that goofy suit with the ping pong balls on it. Just like, oh, wow. I'm like, wow. Everyone's like, Benedict Cumberbatch, what a great actor. I'm like, I shouldn't have seen this because now I won't be able to unsee it when I watch the movie.
I think once Eric and I played something like 20 questions or something, the thing we had to guess was Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug in the BTS footage where he's doing the weird jaw thing.
Yes. He does that voice. I wasn't.
Kind of looks a bit Rita Repulsa though for me. You know how like they tried
Oh,
to.
yeah.
That's what
It was
I
a
was
Power
getting from
Rangers.
it.
He's
But
about
I,
to put that on.
yeah.
Anybody see that movie? It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. She pulled teeth out of people's heads and made a spear out of it.
Oh,
That's
cool.
pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Right? It does
you
not
know what
lead
that's-
into something cooler at the end, but
But that
it
is
was
cooler
cool.
than that.
You don't
Said
know,
it,
though.
said
Maybe
it.
there's teeth in there.
Come at
Well,
me,
let us
rock.
know what you guys think about this green costume and this interestingly designed costume in the comments down below. Tweet us at New Rockstars. And, of course, subscribe to this channel for more coverage of all the upcoming Marvel movies. Thanks, everybody. Okay, moving on to our New Rockstars News lightning round. You guys tweeted us questions, and I'm going to fire them at my co-hosts who have to answer them as quickly and without hesitation as possible. Is everyone ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Sam.
Yes.
Star Wars Episode 9 title predictions. That's from our friend Momo at Pure Muhammad.
Why would you ask me? The end? Question mark?
The end?
Star Wars, the end, thank God.
They're saying the and.
The and?
Yes,
The
and.
and.
Yeah.
Lightning.
The god in Star Wars.
The
end.
and.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Mine.
Yo.
Rewatching Game of Thrones. I guess this is from at Nikki Raymond 71. Rewatching Game of Thrones. Do you think Tywin knew that it was Arya he was talking to at Harrenhal? That's a good one.
No.
Haven't gotten up to there yet. I wanted to say I miss Renly.
But
let's say no, because he is usually too drunk
He probably-
to pay
yeah,
attention
yeah.
to detail.
yeah. That's okay.
She's a commoner.
Filup at True Scorn wants to know, what is your favorite fictional weapon?
Ooh.
that's
Oh
cool.
man, that's such a good one. Ooh. Ah man,
thing
I
that
feel
came
like
to
it's
your
still
head-
powers. The first thing that came to my head was Sylar on Heroes. The way that like he could just do that and then
And
take their power.
Take a
or
noodle out
whatever.
and...
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Not
Whatever
a
he
weapon.
did.
So
weapon.
Zachary Quinto's finger.
Mine was the little cricket from Men in Black.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noisy cricket.
Portal
Yeah.
gun.
That's a good one. And for me, what is the favorite thing a fan has ever said to or about you? From at one.
Gosh, how do you answer
FJC
that
Co.
quickly?
Well,
What's
I
the
did
best
pick it
thing
out.
about you?
Well, first thing I should point out, I do not have fans. I have people who scream things at me, and sometimes they're nice. But I would
nice thing someone
say,
screamed at you.
yeah, I think my favorite thing was like I was gone on vacation for a while, and then I came back, and the top comment, and I think it was the most upvoted comment, was, "Hey, that fat white boy's back." And I was like,
yell
"Oh,
at
that's
them.
really nice."
Hey!
Yeah,
Oh, they
Yeah.
were
I felt real nice.
Meatloaf, he's back.
Are you technically white?
Yeah, I haven't done DNA. I think I'm not human.
You
I don't know.
glow.
All right. Well, let's next up to take a look at what we got in the pipeline. For videos coming out on this channel in the next week. Okay, guys, update. We are now 119 days away from the release of Solo: A Star Wars Story. We're going to keep track of how many days, guys. And still, no trailer, no teaser, no first look.
What is going
the
on?
movie. We're going to keep counting down the dates. That's going to be our new by the numbers segment, is how many days we have left.
What are they hiding?
What? Yeah. What are you keeping from us? Well, apparently they did release some footage of it or some images from it at some French conference, but there's none of that leaked online. So I don't know.
What do the
why.
French have to do with this?
Yeah, I know.
It's getting more mysterious every day.
Yeah. This is confusing. Guys, just to give you something to compare to, 4 months away compared to 8 months minimum for the other Star Wars movies that have come out. There's always at least 8 months ahead of time they've released something.
Anything.
Yeah. Rest assured, when that trailer comes out, we will do a breakdown on it. We will be talking about it a lot.
I
so
got a bad feeling about this.
Now, Sam's got another video in the works for next week.
I do. Iron Man 2, I watched it. It is just a bridge movie, but it is not as bad as everyone remembers. So go watch it. Watch my breakdown. I found a lot of fun little secrets in there that you'll enjoy.
We're also continuing our Game of Thrones rewatch series. Next up on the list, it seems like we covered a lot of the big moments from season 1. We're also going to be talking about moving on to season 2, the Shadow Baby scene, Melisandre's dark magical birth, and what exactly happened there. How did it change the show? There's so many questions I still have about it. So we got a video explainer coming out about that that I think you guys will enjoy. And then we're also going to talk about, a lot of you guys have asked us about Altered Carbon, the new series coming out on Netflix. That looks very exciting. It looks like kind of like Blade Runner or something in that vibe. That it seems like the big
Blade
new
Runner
show.
2?
Blade Runner 2049, but not as long, maybe. But no, we're gonna explain what this is and why you should be excited about it, because I'm super pumped about it.
I am too. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to your breakdown, sir.
And we'll have some more stuff coming out next week. But now comes the time for a 15-second shout out, where each of us has 15 seconds, no more, no less. You got to take exactly 15 seconds to shout out, plug, or ramble about anything you want. Sam, why don't you start?
All right, time me. Everyone should pick up. If you have always been on the fence of like Superman, he's a boring character. I would never want to hear anything about him. I never want to know about him. You should go read Superman's Secret Identity. The premise is, in a real world where the comics exist, a boy gets the abilities to be Superman, and it's a story about it. And it's very heartwarming. I cried.
Yeah.
But I cry at everything.
Yeah.
Hopefully you were timing at home. Stop listening after 15 seconds.
You don't know
allowed to
it's that
remember
little
that.
boy.
It invalidates it.
Okay. For my 15-second shout out, I would like to shout out the YouTube channel Lessons from the Screenplay. I love that guy. He does some really interesting screenplay analysis, like we did with Logan today, and he just released a video about the Avengers that broke up the act structure and whether we need to do 3 acts or 5 acts to look at movies. Definitely watch it.
Wow, 13 seconds. That was really impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, but mine was a biocardiac.
Yeah.
What?
It feels
Yes. On Netflix, Shannara Chronicles Season 2 has come out. I watched Season 1 because we got sent something at SourceFed Nerd, and that was kind of cool. But a lot of Australians are in it, including like a fellow Brizzy kid who's doing good things as well. So I think that alone is worth it because I have Aussie pride being Australia Day.
Right at the edge.
Mine was going to be Altered Carbon, and then you talked about it already.
Oh, you just had 45 seconds of stallage.
Well, you can give us another reason why
I tried
into
it, but then I was going to do Shannara Chronicles, and then I was going to do a thing about a little boy.
Shout out to Sam's Counting.
15!
No, if you're in Los Angeles, check out Erik Voss's improv performances at IO West every week.
Every week in February is now
No,
moving to a
I
rotating.
did it. I did a good enough
This
job.
is not
I
your
could
time.
give
You
you
had a
a
limited
time.
amount of
If
time.
you care, you'll
Go find
it.
us, yeah.
If you can.
All right, well, let's finally move on to our trivia question that we asked before. And we have the card with the answer over here. Devin, why don't you toss it over to us?
I want to read the answer.
And and then you can take mine. Okay, so just to remind you guys of the question, in Logan, what was the fictional brand name of the popular energy drink that we later learned was laced with anti-mutant corn syrup poisoned by Dr. Xander Rice's company? Let's go down the line and see what we came up with.
First up is Slurm. You trauma fans probably don't know this. Slurm's McKenzie.
Maude said Surge, which is
real
probably
brand.
far more toxic than what was actually in the movie, right?
Sam said Power Up. which is a reference to things.
It's a thing. I think it was vague.
Yeah.
Erik said X-Juice.
Gross. Erik.
X-Men was popular
They
in
took
the
pulp out of
the world of the
X-Men.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got Logan make
I
extras.
feel good about it. I think one of us got it. Wait, Maude, what's
But
on?
the real answer is Hypno or Hypno. Hypno or Hypno.
Interesting.
Who's closest?
Hypno. I guess that's
Well,
interesting
we're
because
all
it's
about
like kind of mind
hypno.
control
Yeah,
type thing.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
closest
Easter egg.
note? What was your answer?
Surge? You mean the real company, Surge?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing? Is it?
Surge is
Surge,
a very
yeah.
popular thing.
Well,
that
it's
was
an
in the
energy drink. It's
90s.
like a Mountain Dew, sugary
Yeah.
Mountain
Is it?
Dew. Yeah.
It's the one that lowered your sperm count.
You guys think I know about
you guys
American
hear me? I'm talking to Eric.
Not everybody else.
Is that really something?
Surge is a real
I've
brand.
never heard
That
of it
probably
before
makes
in my
it
life.
the
Oh,
best
really?
answer then.
No, I
Because
just made it up.
the energy drink in the movie was affecting mutant fertility. So technically, yeah, that would make you.
Oh my gosh,
less
my
accurate.
subconscious pieced that together
Yeah.
somehow. Sam,
Well
put
done.
your eyes back
How
into
you-
your head,
yeah.
please.
How you doing now, Eric?
She guessed a real thing.
Yeah.
We don't have Surge in Australia. Never
We
had.
barely had. We just got it back.
Surge.
We're trying.
Okay, so who got the worst then?
X juice. Uh-oh.
Yeah, X juice.
X got a
X
juice
juice
to
pretty
you.
bad.
It's got
I
a
thought there would be
juice
worse
to
ones.
you. X got a juice to
Okay,
you.
well, Maude, as the winner, you'll get to do our goodbyes. You can make fun of our names, Twitter handles, however you want. First, we're going to quickly run through some other news headlines that were very important this week that we didn't have time for in our other segments. Now, I'm going to have to read these, and at the end, I'm going to have to
Hold on.
make a joke.
I have a suggestion with this. Do you want me to read it out news-like while you
Yes.
think of the funny thing to
that's
say?
good.
Do it.
So as the winner, I'll be your newsreader and deliver you the news that you really are excited to hear. For example, Star Wars The Last Jedi novelization will include a scene featuring Han Solo's funeral, which didn't make it into the film. Eric?
Not in the novelization are the funerals held by Chinese theater houses after they dumped the movie.
Sam, you okay?
That's not bad.
Okay.
Sorry. Yay!
Yay!
The second story. Game of Thrones actor Sean Bean will star in an upcoming British TV series called Curfew, in which it will be about a post-apocalyptic street racing. Say something about him dying.
The series will go on for 8 seasons. Sean Bean go on for 8 minutes.
Yay! You want to tell the joke.
This is like, wait a second. Tom Cruise posted a first look photo for Mission Impossible 6 Fallout, showing himself hanging from a helicopter.
They were able to find a prop department to make a slightly smaller helicopter that didn't engulf his tiny stature.
The other photo they released was him jumping foot first into a window, and he broke his ankle on the set of this movie. And I was just like, someone commented online, it was so funny. They're like, you could almost hear the ankle snapping in the photo. Oh, it's so funny. Sorry, I was laughing at that.
Why does he have
Not
to do
your
something
joke.
No, yeah. It's about this other comment. Great job. Yeah. Fallout's referring to the radioactive decay he looks like now that he's entering his octogenarian decade on this
You
planet.
don't get a
Still
second
going?
joke.
Still going? Oh, let it die like Sean Bean.
Oh, what's number 4?
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson went off on a Twitter critic who complained about Jumanji, saying that a video game character shouldn't possess an item after losing a life. Valid point. Johnson replied to this critic to kindly go F himself.
And the level of civil discourse on social media has hit rock bottom.
Yay!
We're good about that.
The People's Anyway, New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art hosted an exhibition. Michelangelo sculptures with Michelangelo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles walking around to greet museum goers.
Man, was this publicity stunt cowabungled?
Yay!
That's actually what I was thinking of. So there you go.
I think it's pretty fun. Yeah.
Stop tapping.
Museums are cool again, kids. Yeah.
There's no one watching anymore.
All right. Well, here we go. Take it away, Maude.
Oh, guys, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of New Rockstars News. We can thank Sam Bashor if you want,
Hi.
but you don't have to.
Don't.
What's your Twitter handle?
At Sam Bashor.
It's like you died 3 minutes ago. Erik Voss. Which
E.A. Voss.
It's in the name.
It's in the name.
Filup Molina's, you can only really see his head next to me because he's camouflage.
What?
He's what?
See-through.
At FEMA.
Camouflage. Oh.
And I'm Maude Garrett. I didn't want to wash my hair today, and that's why I'm wearing a beanie. But now you know.
That's worth a dab. You want to dab it? Don't hurt
Yeah,
yourself.
dab it.
It's the only way I dab.
Well, comment down below, tweet us at New Rockstars, like this video, share it around, subscribe to New Rockstars for deep dives into all the stuff that you love, guys. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.